Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show this weekend. Hey, baby, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. A lot of folks got, the weekend off, and it's kind of fun because we just had a couple other days off in a row, so people are kind of, having some time to spend with family, which is maybe good and maybe not.
Depends on the family.
Kind of all depends, yeah, doesn't it? Coming up on the program today, we do have a special guest, and I'm going to have to look and see who that is. Dang it. I'll have to dig through my stuff. I know we have a special guest. I just don't know who. Also, want to let you know about some fun things that are going on. It's a special weekend, so we got some special stuff. We'll tell you about that in a bit. Recently, there was a document that showed that Winston Churchill used to watch the movie Bambi late at night to inspire him during World War II.
Really?
I don't know why that would inspire you.
I don't know either.
Did you know the Earth travels at 660,000 miles per hour? So we're all speeding through space right now.
I did not.
And the word bride is derived from an old English word meaning cook. So there you go.
Really?
Now you know your place. Thank you, ladies. Just kidding. Coming up here, we're going to tell you about what's happening this weekend. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
Well, I thought you'd never ask. It is, we'll do the whole darn weekend. Saturday, November the 22nd is World Day of Giving, which is nice. Small Business Saturday and Shopping Reminder Day. So it's a good day to remind people to go shopping, because we don't have enough reminders this time of year.
There you go.
Sunday is Pins and Needles Day. So there you go. That's all that we have for Sunday, November the 27th. So there's not a whole lot of stuff going on this weekend, but there is so much stuff that was going on this last week that I think it's okay. We get to just relax.
It's good to have a couple of down days.
Lay on the sofa and, let all that leftover turkey digest.
There you go.
That's what it is. Coming up, we're going to talk about Tweety Bird getting a girl kicked out of school. That's on the way. Would you like to lose weight? You could wait till New Year's to make a resolution, but most people that do that are done with them in a few weeks. No, they don't hit their goal. They just give up. If you struggle to keep your weight where you'd like it, maybe you should consider hypnosis. Many people have amazing results with hypnosis, and it's not as expensive as you think. We have a special weight loss hypnosis program for just $60 at radiosavings.com. Hypnosis can help reduce the cravings that cause you to overeat. Learn more about this special hypnosis weight loss system from Extreme Power Hypnosis at radiosavings.com. John
and Heidi.
And this is your brain on drugs. Do you think it would be possible for Tweety Bird to get a girl kicked out of school?
Yeah, knowing the schools nowadays, I'm
Listen
sure.
to this. This happened in Wisconsin. A young girl got suspended from school for having a keychain that looked like a gun, and now there's a different girl in Atlanta that is suspended for having a Tweety Bird wallet. Ashley Smith, 11, from Garrett Middle School, was suspended for 2 weeks after the school officials noticed her wallet had the image of a yellow bird-like cartoon character was attached to a 10-inch keychain. The school banned chains as part of their zero-tolerance weapons policy, and that placed the item in the same category as a pellet gun or an ice pick or a sword.
Oh, my gosh.
A Tweety Bird wallet with a chain. Couldn't they have just said you need to remove the chain?
How old was this girl?
She's 11.
Oh, my gosh.
She's going to go all crazy with her Tweety Bird wallet and, beat somebody with that chain. I can understand why you wouldn't want to.
There's got to be some common sense.
But you'd
back
think
in
they'd
this
be able
world.
to just say, hey, you can't bring the chain to school. When I was a kid, there were people that had, and I guess you still see this from time to time, where they'll have like the chain clipped to their belt.
Yeah.
And then they'll have their wallet in their pocket.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're going to take their wallet for a walk. Come on. Let's go. Oh,
yeah.
Good wallet. No, that's not how it works. I think it's so they don't forget their wallet somewhere. But my wallet is not on a chain. I've never once left my wallet anywhere. So
No.
it's like more like a wireless fence thing I have going, I think. I'm not sure. But that is something that I never really thought about. The kids can't do that. They can't take those to school now. So there you go. A couple of weird things that we learn about today. Also on the way, we're going to be talking about some more weird stuff. We've got your brain on drugs, your moment of duh, and the scoop of the day, all on the way on the John and Heidi Show this weekend.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
and this is your Brain on Drugs. If you're trafficking drugs and weapons, it's probably a good idea to have a valid driver's license and obey all traffic laws, wouldn't you say?
You would think so.
That was not the case for 43-year-old James Moran. James Moran. Spelled close, though. This was in New York. Police pulled him over for driving, for a driving infraction, but he did not have a driver's license, so they towed his vehicle. It was during the police inventory of the vehicle they discovered several packets of cocaine and an illegal shotgun, and then he got an extra stay in jail for that. So, yeah, probably not the brightest thing to do. You know, again, if you're gonna break the law, you're probably not the smartest bulb on the old Christmas tree anyway. But coming up, we're going to talk about somebody's great idea to sell car parts using turkeys. We'll tell you all about that in a bit.
John and Heidi.
We just had Thanksgiving not too long ago, and somebody leading up to Thanksgiving thought they had a great idea to sell car parts, Heidi.
Okay.
Southern California car parts dealer bought 320 live turkeys. They spent $5,000 on these turkeys.
Okay.
And they said, hey, we're going to let the turkeys run loose in our yard here. And if you come out to buy car parts, we're going to give you a chance to run around the yard with a shotgun and shoot at one of the turkeys. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Problem was, the dealer never really checked to see if this would be even allowed in their city, and it was not. So now he's stuck with 321 turkeys running around his yard to the tune of $5,000. I wonder if he can at least
he could probably still
kill
just
them and sell
catch them and give them away.
Yeah, catch and release
live.
program. Yeah, here's a live.
Take a live turkey home with you.
We just watched. I don't know if you didn't watch it with me. My son and I watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine over the weekend, and their Thanksgiving episode, and it was very funny because they got a live turkey instead of a frozen turkey. Good stuff. Coming up, your scoop of the day that is on the way.
The Scoop of the Day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now your Scoop of the Day. A British charity is trying to make young people think more about God during Christmas season. So they're putting Jesus in places where young people are most likely to meet him. One tactic was to give Jesus his own Facebook page. And it was only up for a short while before it was rejected by Facebook. And they're like, no, you can't have a Jesus Facebook page. So
God has a Facebook page.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how
I'm
that
a
works.
fan of it. I follow it. Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out how
I don't
they
know
were...
why Jesus couldn't have one if God can have one. That doesn't seem right.
I have no idea. So I wonder why it was rejected then. I think the God page is a fan page, though, isn't it? I don't know. But I think this was like they were trying to set up their own page, like their own personal. I have no clue. Hey, let's move on. A Harvard University and University of British Columbia study found that how you spend money is at least as important to happiness as how much you make. They studied 630 Americans. They found those who spent money on other people, even if it was only $5 a day for gifts or charity, were measurably happier than those who spent the money on themselves. So they're saying if you do good things for others, you feel way happier than if you're just doing stuff for yourself.
I almost always, when I'm buying stuff, it's almost always for somebody else.
I
hardly ever get things for myself.
Yeah, it's funny because she was doing her Christmas shopping and getting stuff, and I was like, "Oh, that's neat. Who's that for?" "That's for the garbage man." I'm like, "What? You got to stop, Heidi. I think you're addicted."
They work so hard.
I know. I understand that. And this is for the mailman. I'm like, "You've never even met the mailman." It's not a man at all. It's a woman. So I think you got the wrong thing for this person. Anyway, moving right along here. A recent PPP poll. What is that? Looks at the conspiracy theories. Okay, so I wonder what that stands for.
I don't know.
It's a PPP poll. Anyway.
Paranoid people poll?
No, because I have no clue. They say 51% of Americans believe that there is a conspiracy in the JFK assassination. So let's stop and ask, Heidi, are you in that 51%? Or do you think it was just...
I honestly am torn on that one. It sounds like from the evidence that I've seen put forward, there could be more to it.
Mark me down in the 51%. I think there was some sort of conspiracy.
Yeah, I think
there.
there's a little more to it than what we know.
I could be wrong. Okay, 15% believe that the government controls our thoughts through television. I don't necessarily believe that. Although I think that restaurants do.
Television definitely tries to control your thoughts.
We've been watching TV and there'd be a commercial for McDonald's. I'm like, hey, you guys want to go to McDonald's?
Yeah. That's
truly,
what I'm saying.
That
Television
truly happened.
definitely tries to.
I don't know that I can blame that on the government, though. Much more I could blame it on my appetite and, the delicious goodness of McDonald's. I think that's who we blame that one on. 13% believe that Obama is the Antichrist. No, I don't think that. But that is just... That is just below the number of people who believe that Bigfoot is real. 14% believe Bigfoot is real. Do you believe that?
No.
I do believe that Bigfoot is real.
I do not.
But I don't think that it's like a missing link. I think it's a North American gorilla.
I think they would have found him by now.
I don't, because here's the thing. For like hundreds of years, they said the gorilla didn't exist, and then all of a sudden, it was only like 100 years ago they found the gorilla.
Right, but it wasn't in a populated area either where they found the gorilla. I mean, it's not like there were people driving past there every single day and they just happened to come across a gorilla.
But there are people that are seeing Bigfoot. So, everybody always says, well, why hasn't anyone seen one? I'm like, there's thousands of people that have seen it.
Thousands.
There are.
There's like 8 and all insane.
And, hey, I just said I'm part of the 14%. Hey, we may be the minority, but we are the vocal and very avid minority. And there's one other thing on here, lizard people. 4% of Americans believe that lizard people control politics.
No.
I guess I hadn't thought of that. But then
agree with
when you
that.
think about it, Nancy Pelosi kind of looks a little... I'm just kidding. I'm teasing. That was kind of mean, wasn't it? Saying that she looked like a lizard. I was teasing. If you're a fan of Nancy, I was just being silly. Hey, I'm going to end on this.
They're all slimy, so I mean, there's a...
If you're aiming to live in the present, you'll want to restrict yourself to the last 15 seconds because that's how long we perceive as the current moment. A group of researchers have now said a split second, that is something that happens. Our mind seems to blur together what's happening right now with what happened over a brief period, but they're saying 15 seconds ago, anything more than 15 seconds ago, that's in the past. So that comment I made about that lady, that's in the past. Let's just get on. Let's move on with it. All right, we got a guest coming up, and we've got some fun facts on the way on the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
We just wrapped up one of the most contentious elections in the history of our nation. Some are excited about the outcome, others not so excited. We want to remind you that we're still one nation, under God, indivisible. We've made it through many things, and we'll make it through this too. Let's do it together. At PoliticalStorm.com, we've been covering this election from both sides, and we want to thank the many contributors that have helped make that possible. We also invite you to become a contributor too with a free blog. Let's share all of the reasons to come together and unify as a nation. Share your voice at PoliticalStorm.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Every little girl probably had the dream of being a princess, at least at one time. I don't know, maybe even some little boys. Who knows? All I know is we've got Jason Porath joining us today, and it's actually a really cool conversation that we're going to have. I've got his book in front of me here, and it is a big book. It feels almost like a textbook from a school. The book is called Rejected Princesses, Tales of History's Boldest Heroines, Hellions, and Heretics. And we've got Jason Porath joining us right now, author of this fine book. Jason, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing all right.
Jason, I've got a copy of your book in front of me here, and this is a huge, gigantic book, Rejected Princesses, and it's kind of the shape and the feel and the size of a textbook, which is fitting because we're going to learn a lot about princesses.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn, for sure.
So, Jason, how in the world did you decide that you were going to write a book about rejected princesses? Where did this all get started?
So the whole thing sort of started, I used to work at DreamWorks Animation, and there was, back when Frozen came out, there were a bunch of sort of terrible clickbait articles going around about it, and one of them came across my lunch cohorts and I, and we were sort of making fun of it, 12 reasons why the Frozen girls are bad role models. And we're like, well, if they're bad role models, we can come up with way worse ones. And so it was sort of a contest, like, what's the most unlikely animated princess movie idea you can think of? And some of them were just black humor, but a lot of them were stuff that I was tossing out just from binges pages on Wikipedia people had heard of, like Boudica, first century English warrior queen who burned London to the ground and rebelled against the Romans, or there's Jingumbande, who was a mother of Angola, who sort of waged war on the Portuguese for 40 years from the jungle. Just all sorts of interesting people, warriors and geniuses, and Ada Lovelace. There's a ton of people, and most of my coworkers had not heard of them. So I was like, that's a shame, and started illustrating them and putting them online, seeing if anybody else would be interested. It went viral, and 2 years later, here's a book.
Now, one of the things that's really fun about this book is as you flip through and look and you read these stories, these are real people. You have some cartoony-looking pictures of them. This is probably not quite what they look like, but fabulous photos. But we're going to learn some real history here.
Yeah, I mean, if you look in the back of the book, there's like 230 citations or so. Like, I did a fair amount of research. I'm not a historian, so there's probably some stuff that I don't get right that I continue updating on the website. But like, I did the absolute best I possibly could have, and consulted with a number of historians on this book. I mean, some of them are even using it as textbooks. Central Michigan University is actually using it as a textbook.
That's absolutely awesome. I was saying earlier, it's the size and shape and feel of a textbook. And it looks like a textbook, so it's awesome that there really is a school that's really using Rejected Princesses as an actual textbook.
Yeah, the goal I was going for, if you look at it, it's sort of part fairy tale, illuminated manuscript, and part textbook, and it came out great, so I'm glad that you're liking it.
Again, visiting with Jason Porath. He is the author of Rejected Princesses. Now, you used to work at DreamWorks. What in the world was it like working for DreamWorks?
There's never a place that I'm ever going to work at that treated me better. Like, they were so good to me. And it was just great working on stuff that people will know. There will always be, let's say, a conversational topic at parties and whatnot. And, the benefits were amazing. Like, surrounded by some of the greatest artists in the world. It is a phenomenal time. I really miss the people there, but eventually you have to strike out on your own. You want to be not a tool in someone else's toolbox, but a carpenter.
I agree 100%. So, Jason, what are some of the projects that you worked for while you were working at DreamWorks? And maybe we'd even be able to see like your name in the credits at the end of the movies. What are some of those films that we might all know and love?
So I worked on How to Train Your Dragon 2. I worked on The Croods. I worked on Kung Fu Panda 2. I worked on, it must have been 6, 7, 8 movies. It was a while. I was there for 5 years and sort of worked in this global role a lot of the time, just sort of helping out with all the movies, just running from one to the other. It's like, oh, you're having problems doing fire on this movie or liquids on this movie. I was a very technical sort of animator. I actually didn't know how to draw. I had to teach myself everything. I was more of like almost a physics programmer and kind of bending the laws of physics to make the fire that is more artistic and more interesting looking.
Well, I think you found a cool project to work on, and it's got to feel good to have it done. Again, the book is called Rejected Princesses, Tales of History's Boldest Heroines, Hellions, and Heretics. And our guest today is the author, Jason Porath. Jason, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely.
What a nice guy, and what a fun book. It's called Rejected Princesses. It is available right now. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Are you ready for Duel? Kyle Dowling on guitar, Brett Gunderson on bass, Sam DeVito on drums, and frontman Duel Shane.
Gotta keep rocking, gotta keep sucking, bringing it down like rain.
Duel's new single just hit iTunes and it's selling fast. Get your copy now.
When you're lacking chains and you feel no pain, Supernova gonna get you too.
Their first single, Supernova, is available now for less than $1. Learn more and find a direct link to buy Supernova at facebook.com/Duel Rocks.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Black peas are not peas at all. They are beans. So why aren't they called black beans? Maybe that name was already taken.
I wouldn't eat either of them.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The U.S. Air Force has only 50 soldiers at the beginning of World War I.
Really?
So, yeah, they only had 50 soldiers. And then World War I, they're like, hey, we should probably recruit. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
In England, margarine used to be called butterin.
Oh.
And they said, no, you can't call it that. And then finally, our final fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Sterling silver is not all silver. It is actually part copper. 7.5% of it, to be exact. So sterling silver has 7.5% of its makeup is actually copper. So now you know what the difference is between silver and sterling silver. See?
There you go.
It's a fun fact for you right there on the John and Heidi Show this weekend.
John and Heidi.
This is the world's first and only 7-time lottery game grand prize winner. Since I endorsed Lottolicious, I have won something every single draw. When you join, you'll be giving them the set of numbers that you want them to play, and that's what they will play for you. You don't have to worry about running to the store to buy your tickets. They take care of all that. So if you're looking for the best way to play the lottery, go to RadioLottoPool.com and join today. Again, that's RadioLottoPool.com.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show this weekend. It is party time. Lots of holiday parties coming up. So I've got some inexpensive, fun holiday party ideas. You ready for these?
I'm ready.
Appetizer parties are a great way to entertain groups, especially if you're on short on seating space and short on time and short on resources. You're going to want to allow about 8 hors d'oeuvres per person. Oh, really? You're going to count my hors d'oeuvres?
Well, no,
John,
just for planning purposes.
You have 9 hors d'oeuvres. You have way too many there. Oh, I see. For planning, that makes sense. Yeah. It says grilled bacon wrapped chunks of anything. They say veggies and fruit, but I'm saying anything. Also, little tiny potatoes filled with sour cream cut in half. Those are good. A lot of things that are just little items that you can put on a plate and kind of hold in your hand. That's
and
what
they
they're
think
saying.
8 is enough for a person.
Hey,
they're tiny little hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, go with 80. 80 per person. It says, rather than serve expensive whole shrimp, smoked salmon, or beef tenderloin, extend them by combining them with spicy dressing, cream cheese, or veggies. And it says you could even put them into a spread and squeeze them into puff pastries or things like that. Another one, for interesting buffet tables, use an array of unmatched china and crystal collected inexpensively at garage sales. That's a neat idea. Taped background music sets a festive mood, but why not add excitement with live music? Engage a piano student to come and play. Make sure they're not a first-year student. So, welcome to the party. Bing, 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 bing. Who's that? Is that your niece? No, I'm actually paying her to be here. So this party has gone awry already. Use snow in ice buckets to cool beverages. If there's snow outside, it's a way to make it a little more festive. And if there's not snow, you can crush ice to make it look like snow.
That's a cute idea.
Candles
like
provide soft lighting. So they're saying use some candles, but don't overdo it and don't catch anything on fire. Decorate your table with whatever is close at hand. It doesn't have to be expensive flowers. You could go cut, some shrubbery off a tree that looks like a Christmas tree if you've got one handy. Purchase strands of tiny white lights after Christmas for next year's parties. And the final thing on the list here is balloons. They say balloons make any party festive. They're saying helium balloons, but they don't even need to be helium balloons. You can just tie them together and sit them on the table.
There you go.
Or tape them to the back of the guests or wherever you want to put them. I don't know. A couple of fun ideas for you there for your Christmas and holiday parties.
John and Heidi.
When is the last time you changed the air filter on your furnace? Now, don't be embarrassed. That happens to a bunch of us. The furnace filter should be changed often. This will help your heating and cooling system run more efficiently, and it'll even extend the life of your system. Now, there's an easy way to make it happen. Filter Easy, a new subscription service that delivers your size filter right to your door on the schedule you choose. It's easy. Filter Easy. One less thing to worry about. Learn about a special offer available now at radiosavings.com.
John and Heidi.
We are sneaking right up on Christmas, and last year consumers spent $786 on average on holiday gifts, but the latest poll from Gallup says they're going to be sitting on their wallets a little more this year. They're spending an average of $704. So they're going to be down, what is that, $82. At the same time, last year, American consumers planned to spend $770 and ended up spending a bit more. So, the plan is one thing, and then the actual, outcome could be quite different. Retailers can only hope that pattern repeats itself again this year. Coming up here in a little while, we're going to be talking about some more fun things. I've got a study that we're going to talk about for car buyers. And then before we get to that, how important is it to be on time? We got a crazy story. I mean, this could have been our story from earlier. The whole had to be true because you heard it on the radio.
Right.
I mean, this is almost unbelievable, but we got a story about a 63-year-old on a bus that it's nuts. That's on the way.
John and Heidi.
How important is it to be on time, Heidi?
I think it's very important to be on time.
It is important to be on time. But if you're going to be a little bit behind, to make sure things are safe, that's probably a good idea, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Take a listen to this. A 63-year-old woman riding a bus in Edinburgh, isn't that in England? I think that's where that is, smashed her head against a window, ultimately required 14 stitches. How did this happen? Well, the bus driver made a sudden acceleration because he was behind schedule. So she got on the bus and he said, "Hold on, Granny," and he jammed it to the floor.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, to stay on schedule, even though she was bleeding profusely from smashing her head on the window, he decided, I'm going to just keep on my route. I don't want to get even further behind. He wouldn't stop, and he wouldn't call an ambulance. Now she has filed a lawsuit, and I hope that she wins.
I would, too. In
that guy should no longer be driving.
That is a rightful...
He shouldn't be a bus driver anymore. I mean, you don't do that. 63-year-old woman gets hurt because you're driving erratically, and then you just let her sit there and bleed. You're
That's
like,
awful.
Hey, I got a route to stay on. I can't imagine that any of the other passengers wouldn't have thought that this was a bad idea. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure other people were speaking up, too.
I hope so.
Little old lady sitting there bleeding. You would definitely think that some other passengers were sticking up for her.
You'd certainly hope so. Coming up, we've got a couple of great things. We've got a study about car buyers, and then we got an awesome story from a few years ago. That's on the way.
John and Heidi.
We just wrapped up one of the most contentious elections in the history of our nation. Some are excited about the outcome, others not so excited. We want to remind you that we're still one nation, under God, indivisible. We've made it through many things, and we'll make it through this too. Let's do it together. At PoliticalStorm.com, we've been covering this election from both sides, and we want to thank the many contributors that have helped make that possible. We also invite you to become a contributor too with a free blog. Let's share all of the reasons to come together and unify as a nation. Share your voice at PoliticalStorm.com.
John and Heidi.
Take a listen to this, Heidi. Studies show that fuel economy has become the number one concern among American car buyers, but motorists have also been pressing for higher speed limits, which actually reduces the mileage that a car gets. Might seem kind of common sense, but a new study clearly quantifies the impact of putting the pedal to the metal, if you will.
Which is why the cars have to get better mileage, because if you're going faster, you need better cars.
Says here, findings are very surprising. Few differences between vehicles, whether it's a brick-like SUV or a sleek, wind-cheating sports car. People really like the rule of thumb, and if you're increasing your speeds from 50 to 60, somewhere around there, we find the largest number of vehicles are fuel economy, and it's going to go down about 12% for the biggest number of vehicles. Now, some it's going to be a little more, some it's going to be a little less, but by bumping it up 10 miles an hour, you're going to lose about 12%. This is from Brian H. West, a researcher at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Knoxville, Tennessee, where the study was conducted. Now, pushing a little faster, you'll see mileage drop about 14% if you're going from 60 to 70, while fuel economy will dip another 16% if you nudge the speedometer up to 80 miles an hour. So, and I can tell you at a certain speed, if you just watch the gas gauge, you can just see it go down.
I wouldn't know. I don't do that.
Oh, did I just admit that I do? On the radio for all to hear? Or was I just saying that was a theory? I think that was just a theory, Heidi.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
Okay.
Anyway, I do agree that I think more fuel-efficient vehicles are good. We switched over. We had a vehicle that was a flex fuel vehicle, and we switched to the flex fuel gas, and that got terrible gas mileage. And then when I factored it out, because I'm a weirdo like that, and I figured that, hey, you know what? I'm better off buying the more expensive gas and getting better gas mileage. So to each their own. Coming up, we've got some good news, and I love this story. It's on the way.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
And we always try to wrap things up around here with some good news. And this is from a few years ago, but it's just so darn sweet. It had to be told again, Heidi.
Okay.
This is you may have seen this video online. If you haven't, you have to go check it out on our Facebook page, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. Lieutenant Colonel Frank Daly was going to a Cracker Barrel in Toledo, Ohio, At about the same time, 8-year-old Miles Eckhart and his family were also heading in for lunch. On the way in, Miles found a $20 bill in the parking lot. And he was thinking of all the cool stuff that he could get with this. And then he was sitting in the restaurant and he saw the soldier. And he said, I'm going to give it to him instead. So he wrote a special note and he walked over and gave it to the soldier. And here's the note. It says, "Dear soldier, my dad was a soldier. He's in heaven now. I found this $20 in the parking lot when we got here. We like to pay it forward in my family. It's your lucky day. Thank you for your service. Miles Eckhart, a Gold Star kid."
That's awesome.
Isn't that nice?
I've heard that. I've heard that story.
It's such a cool story. Now, Miles lost his father when he was just an infant, so he doesn't have any firsthand memories of his dad, but he does know him through stories and memories from others. After meeting at the Cracker Barrel that day, Miles asked his mom if she could take him to the cemetery so he could tell the tale to his dad at the cemetery.
Aww.
The note and the gesture made an impact on Colonel Frank Daly as well, and he has been paying it forward over and over ever since.
That's
So,
awesome. What
it
a
is
great story.
Such a
What
great video.
Great story.
In the video, you get to see this young man, and you get to see his little note that he had written in, little boy handwriting, and it's on just a small little piece of paper that Lieutenant Daly still has on his desk.
Well, I'm sure.
And he said, "I see it every day." And I just remember every day, how fortunate we are to have kids like that out there. So
that's awesome.
try to always keep those fun stories for the end of the program. So check that out at facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening this weekend. We appreciate you tuning in.